welcome to Talkin Ball with Scotty and Sergio. Sergio, how's your day going, brother?
Going well, man. Well, day over here is a lot cooking right now. The night over here, the night day for you. But yeah, we just got stuck in a stay-at-home order just issued by Mayor Garcetti over here in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
Pretty much going back to it's stricter than what it was in May or April when it was the worst cases of corona over here. So we're going to like full lockdown.
Well, I hope everyone over there is safe. I know things aren't that great in the States at the moment. We're pretty lucky here in Australia. We live on an island on the other side of the world and we've dealt with it pretty well. But every time one case comes up, we get very scared very fast. But, mate, we'll talk about what everyone wants to hear, basketball. On today's pod, guys, our second official pod, we're going to be talking through all the free agency signings. We'll go through absolutely all of them, and we'll stop on the big ones and a few questionable ones. We'll have a chat. But we actually have breaking news on our second pod. Today, they said that it wasn't going to happen. It was always going to happen. Russell Westbrook is off to the Washington Wizards, and John Wall and a first-round pick are heading back to the Houston Rockets. Sergio, wow.
Wow. I think we had discussed the possibility of this, and I was like, why would they do that? They're essentially like swapping players that have similar characteristics. It's not really, I don't know if it's really helping Harden. I don't know.
I don't know if it's really helping Beal either, to be honest.
Exactly. Beal wants the ball more in his hands. Harden wants the ball more in his hands. So I don't know what they're really doing. The only thing, the articles I was reading was, I think it kind of makes more sense that Harden's going to be traded. I don't see, it's just pretty much the rebuilding.
It's going to be a weird rebuild, but I think this is like the nail in the coffin. I think this means Harden's going to be gone, whether or not it's before the season starts, probably before the trade block. But I think he's gone. I'm not sure whether it's the Nets or Philly, who else trying to throw their hands out there. But this is such a weird trade. You went from having Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and no centers to, as we're about to get through, Christian Wood, DeMarcus Cousins, John Wall. This is a weird team. This is a very different team they had last year.
Yeah, they're actually going to be trading. They're going to be adjusting. Wall, we don't know how he's going to be coming back from the Achilles tear, Achilles rupture. So that guy hasn't played in what? Is it 24 months already?
Something like that. This is what I want to have a quick chat about before we move on to the free agency. I've got a few stats here. And so when Wall last played in 2019, he played 32 games. He averaged 34 and a half minutes, just under 21 points, 3.5 rebounds, 8.5 assists. He shot 30.2 from three, and he averaged just over 3.5 turnovers a game. Russell Westbrook last year, he played 57 games, averaged just under 36 minutes a game. He had 27.2 points, 7.9 rebounds, 1.6 steals, 7 assists, 4.5 turnovers a game, which we know with Russ, it's always going to happen. But here we go, 25.8 3-point percentage.
Yeah. Wall's what, 30%? It's still way beneath.
Very
it's
similar.
Well below the average in the league. So I think with both of those players, and the thing is, Russ hasn't always shot 25. I mean, during his MVP season, was he mid-30s?
I think it was just below mid-30s. I think it was 33, 34%.
Yeah, so I think that 25% is kind of like an anomaly. I mean, he's never been a great three-point shooter, but I think with him and Wall, averages career-wise, they're very similar.
Yeah. Yeah, they're very similar players. A lot of athleticism they rely upon. But Russell hasn't really had the major injury that John's had, which is one of those things because they're both going to be playing off the ball a little bit. Probably Russell, you're not going to ask him to shoot too many three-pointers there in that Washington team with Davis Bertans and Bradley Beal loading up from deep.
Yeah, I was surprised. So, sorry, correct me if I'm wrong. Houston had to give up a first round?
No. Opposite way, my friend. They got a first round.
There we go. Okay, that makes sense.
Russell Westbrook is valued higher than John Wall, essentially.
Yeah. No, but I thought they would have gotten a bit more.
Yeah. Well, firstly, let's get started. Let's get straight into free agency. We have quite a few. We're going to go through all of them. There's no point stopping on all of them, but I've got a few I want to stop on. Serge, you tell me to stop the clock when you think it's time to have a chat about one of these guys. So to start off, we spoke about this in our trades. It was a sign and trade. Christian Wood, 3 years, $41 million for the Houston Rockets. We had Brad Wanamaker, 1 year, $2.25 million to the Golden State Warriors. Fred VanVleet getting a bit of a bag here, 4 years, $85 million to the Toronto Raptors.
Stop the clock.
That's it. Stop it. Mate, great. The last couple of years, I think he became the highest paid ever undrafted player in NBA history.
And I'll tell you what, well deserved.
100%.
He deserves that money. He deserves that money. It was just a matter of fact who was going to give it to him and where he made sense, like cap wise, to be on what team. But that guy, I mean, he earned his stripes 2 years ago.
Yeah, 100%. And I think Kyle Lowry's just been such a great kind of role model for him because he's a good shooter, he's a good passer, he's a dog on defense.
A bulldog.
A bulldog. And Fred VanVleet, he's an undersized point guard or two guard or wherever you think he's going to kind of play, but he doesn't give up anything on the defensive end either. Kind of helped Toronto be that defensive team they were last year. Obviously, they're going to miss Marcus Gasol and Sergio Barker, but we'll get through to those guys. Denzel Valentine, 1 year, $4.7 million to the Chicago Bulls. Tristan Thompson, 2 years, $19 million to the Boston Celtics. Great pickup here, Serge.
Yeah, 9.5 a year. That's great. He was on a previous contract, I think, that LeBron earned him for the Cavs. Well overpaid. But yeah, that's a great pickup for them.
Yeah, that's a sneaky one. They lost Enes Kanter, who's that good first big off the bench. But they're starting center last year.
I'd say Tristan at this point is an upgrade.
Yeah, 100%. He's a good rebounder, offensive rebounder especially. He's a solid defender. Not going to give you much more than that, but the Celtics team, they've got 4 guys who can do a bit of everything. So it's a great pickup for the Boston Celtics.
Oh, speaking of the Celtics, did you see that Kemba's possibly out for the beginning of the season?
He's had to have, I think it's plasma enrichment, like that, what they just put in your knee, which is a bit scary. They've just paid a lot of money for Kemba. And
yeah, it's pretty much like they're giving him new cells, something along those lines.
100%. They don't really have anyone to back. I think they just signed Jeff Teague. We'll get into that, but we'll talk about Boston more when we move into those teams. But yeah, so we had Garrett Temple, 1 year, $5 million to the Chicago Bulls. Jeff Teague signed a 1 year contract with Boston Celtics. Max contract alert, Jason Tatum.
How much was that for?
Jeff Teague? I'm not 100%. I think it's roughly around 4 or 5 million. So just a quick 1 year. He'll be backing up. Yeah, he's a vet. They need someone like that coming off the bench, especially if Kemba's going to be gone for the beginning of the season. But if we're talking about the Celtics, here's the big one. 5 years, $163 million max. It could be 195, depending if he keeps making all-star teams. And Jason Tatum locking up his contract, getting a bag with the Boston Celtics.
I'd give that kid $400 million if they let me sign him for 10 years.
100%.
He's the face of the NBA along with Doncic. He's that new generation of player. He's a guy that kind of reminds me a bit of kind of like Paul Pierce, but more athletic, but still like not incredibly athletic. But he's just got that wingspan. He's got the game. He's got the balance that Doncic has. You know, like they can shoot from any angle.
He seems to have pretty good IQ as well. He seems to be getting better and better every season he plays.
Very switched on guy.
Then we have Dario Saric signed a 3-year contract for $27 million with the Phoenix Suns. Good rotation player there. Jakar Sampson, 1 year with the Pacers. Rajon Rondo had a chance to probably play for one of the LA teams this season, but signed a 2-year, $15 million contract with the Atlanta Hawks.
That's another one that I didn't quite get. I'm like, he could have had his choice. I mean, I don't know if he could have stayed with the Lakers. He would have had to sign another. He wasn't on a veteran minimum, was he?
I think he might have been last year. He wasn't on a lot of money last year.
Yeah. So I think that he chose the money. He's like, I got 2 rings. Maybe 15 mil is pretty good at my age.
Yeah, he's going to be most likely probably the first guy off the bench, backing up Trae Young, playing a bit of defense there. I think it's a good little signing for the Hawks. A good vet to have around.
Great sign. The Hawks score in my top 10% of performance in off season.
Fantastic off season. Yeah, 100%. Austin Rivers, 3 years, $10 million from the New York Knicks. Cam Reynolds, 1 year for the San Antonio Spurs. Bobby Portis, 2 years for the Milwaukee Bucks. Jonte Porter, 3 years, $6 million from the Memphis Grizzlies. Jakob Poeltl, you got a good little.
I was going to say stop the clock there. Just a little quick Chicago fan moment there.
Mm-hmm.
But Portis, I think Portis is a good pickup for Milwaukee.
So do I. He's coming off the bench. He's going to be in limited minutes, and he's a tough, good defender. He's got a good stroke on him.
He brings muscle.
Yeah. And I think Milwaukee this year, they've had so many guys on that bench. And I know Bud used to play like 12 guys a game. Like, you've got to shorten up that rotation. And I think Portis is the way the NBA goes now, he can almost play 5. He's a big enough body to play the 4.
He's strong enough. He's big enough to play 5, and he's a stretch. He can shoot the 3.
Hopefully he's not punching any teammates anymore, but we'll...
yeah.
Most people forgot about that, except for Bulls fans like yourself, unfortunately.
Yeah, except for Mirotic, that he made him move back all the way back to Europe to play.
We have Jakob Poeltl, got a $27 million contract for 3 years with the Spurs. A good rotation piece there. This one was a bit confusing to me. Mason Plumlee, 3 years, $25 million to the Detroit Pistons. How do you rate Plumlee? I don't see him at that.
He's a big body. He's enthusiastic on defense, but his offensive game's lacking, I find.
He's a better passer than he is a shooter, but again, I think Denver, that was kind of useless when you're backing up Jokic.
I think Plumlee's a 7-footer, right?
Yeah, he's a 7-footer who's going to be sharing a front court, most likely with Blake Griffin, Jahlil Okafor, which we'll talk about in a minute as well, but and Jeremy Grant. So they're just stocked at the 4 and the 5 position there.
Wow, yeah.
Theo Pinson got a 2-way contract from the Knicks. Elfrid Payton, 1 year with the New York Knicks. Patrick Patterson re-signed for a year with the Clippers. Jahlil Okafor got 2 years with the Detroit Pistons. Nerlens Noel, 1 year, $5 million with the New York Knicks. Raul Neto, who'll be the backup point guard for Russell Westbrook now with the Washington Wizards. Markieff Morris got a 1-year minimum with the Lakers. His brother Marcus, 4 years, $64 million with the Los Angeles Clippers. I think that's
Morris brothers.
I'm surprised he got that much money, but I think he's a really important piece for the Clippers, whether he's starting alongside Paul George and Kawhi or coming off the bench. And he bullied Luka last year. He's a good shooter. He's a good player. He brings a lot of defense and a lot of attitude to a team that needs it still.
Yeah, and he's still young enough where he can get that money.
Yeah, especially when you have a limited skill set, especially defense, and he's in his, I think he's 30, 31 now. 3 years, he'll still be playing that hard D.
Yeah.
E'Twaun Moore, 1 year, $2.4 million with the Phoenix Suns. Another max contract alert, Donovan Mitchell. 5 years, $163 million, the same as Jason Tatum. Could be $195 with all-star appearances. Staying with the Utah Jazz. Everyone loves Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah. He's a surprise pick. What was he, 13th, I think? But he's in that group. He's in that group with Doncic, the Tatum, those players that are young, but they play way over, way past their age.
Yeah.
You look at them and you look, it looks like you're looking at a 27-year-old, a 28-year-old in their prime playing. They play the court, their court vision, the way they handle their teammates. It's insane.
I think he was unbelievable last year in the playoffs. If I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he had 2 50-point games like Jamal Murray in that first-round series against the Denver Nuggets. His passing's got better. His ability to control the pick and roll, especially with Gobert there, that's such a punch there. I think that's huge for Utah. They're moving in the right direction still, and they're going to be up there in the Western Conference this year again.
Yeah, so what's going on with Gobert? Do they keep Gobert?
Yeah, Gobert's, I think, signed through. He's got another year running on his contract. He doesn't want to go anywhere. And I don't know, it's one of those guys, is he going to take more money to go to a worse team
that's the
next
thing.
season?
Is Utah going to max him out? Because that's what he's going to be expecting.
I think his max would be something not too different to Donovan Mitchell, especially being a two-time defensive player of the year. It's a lot of money to put between two guys and one guy that really can't stroke the three at all, but is one of the better defensive guys in the comp.
Yeah.
Paul Millsap re-signed 1 year. They lost Jeremy Grant, so $10 million for the Denver Nuggets. It's a good reassurance. Probably backing up MPJ maybe, or the other way. We'll see how the season progresses.
Millsap's a good locker room guy, and he actually was a big part of Denver pulling through some of those games. He actually saved Denver a lot during the playoffs. So I think it's great for him to be around the young guys.
100%. DeAnthony Melton, Grizzlies keeping on to one of their young pieces, 4 years, $35 million. They can do any of this stuff right now, especially with Ja Morant and Triple J under rookie contracts. Yeah, get some of these young guys signed up for the future and build this team organically.
That's a guy who I look forward to seeing next year, Ja Morant.
Yeah, 100%.
I should say this year. I should say 10 days from now.
In 10 days, baby. We're getting close.
Less, yeah, 10 days. Wow.
A few more little contracts here. Where's Matthews? 1 year, $3.6 million. Good little pickup there for the Lakers.
That's a great pickup. Yeah.
Garrison Matthews.
That's a former Dallas guy, right?
He was. He signed for Dallas just after he did his Achilles. Dallas was struggling to get anybody on that team. I think they might have just signed Harrison Barnes to a crazy contract. They just needed some guys, and great locker room guy.
That was the year that DeAndre Jordan walked out on you guys.
That's the year, I like to think about it, where Blake Griffin put a chair against the door and Doc and Chris Paul didn't let him sign for Dallas Mavericks. Thank God, because he came for a year and got traded. He did nothing. Like Dirk, at the end of his career, Dirk loved to have just a big center, getting all the rebounds, playing defense. But in my opinion, DeAndre Jordan, a little bit overrated. But it's another story for another time.
Yeah, I think you guys actually might have dodged a bullet there.
Talking about that, his name's going to come up in a couple minutes, but Dallas also tried to sign Nerlens Noel for 4 years, $85 million about 4 years ago, and he declined because he thought he was worth more, and he hasn't had a contract over $5 million since. So that's out of signing anyone, doing anything, that's the best move Dallas have ever made. What a crazy decision to offer him that contract, but thank God.
The funny thing is, I think he's actually underpaid at $5 million. New York picked him up for $5 million, I believe.
Yeah. He was a good little player last year.
He could be making $8 or $10 million, I think.
For an Oklahoma City team that came fifth, I believe, last year with Chris Paul, he was a great big off the bench. He plays great defense.
Great rim protector. Yeah. I think he was leading the league at some point in blocks.
Yeah, in limited minutes, he's a great guy off the bench. He's going there. What do we say? He's going to. He's coming up in a couple minutes. We'll mention him. But Robin Lopez, 1 year, $7.3 million with the Wizards. Myers Leonard signed a 2-year contract to go back to Miami. Alex Len, 1 year, Toronto Raptors. John Concha, 4 years, $9 million with Memphis. Derrick Jones Jr. Good little pickup here for the Portland Trailblazers. $19 million for 2 years.
I really think he's going to go. I think he's going to have a better year. You know, he was playing quite a bit earlier in the year with Miami, but towards the end of the year in the playoffs, his minutes went down quite a bit because you start playing more like 8 players, 7 players, 9 players.
Yeah, he struggled to make the rotation in the playoffs for a lot of the players, especially the finals. He really didn't play much.
But he's so athletically gifted. So when he finds his niche, where he can position himself on a team, I think and he's a young player too.
Yeah, 100%. He's only 23, 24. For any of our fans that haven't seen much Derrick Jones Jr., go on YouTube, do yourself a favor, look up his highlight reel, especially it's not a dunk, I think it's called a thrunk from a couple of years ago where he jumped nearly as high as the top of the backboard and threw the ball down from a couple meters out. Crazy.
It's nuts. I saw him do he did a windmill. He did a windmill from the free throw line, like in warm-ups too.
He's so long, and he's going to be one of those guys. He's definitely not going to start, but he's going to be the second wing off the bench. He's going to be a good defender. Paul, and we'll talk about them later, but
all that guy needs, if he becomes a decent three-point shooter, he's set because he can play D. He's got that crazy wingspan. He's athletic. He needs to get a 3 down.
If you can be an average, if you can shoot 35%. You are doing your job in this league.
Yeah.
So then we have Damian Jones, got a 2-year contract with the Phoenix Suns. Josh Jackson, Detroit have taken a flyer on him. Wes Iwundu, 2-year contract for the Dallas Mavericks. Another max contract here. This one was always coming. Brandon Ingram, 5 years, $158 million with the New Orleans Pelicans. Show me the money. He had a great season last year. Became an all-star for the first time. good young team, they need one of these guys signed for long term.
I keep thinking when I see all these contracts like Tatum, Mitchell, Ingram, I think what like football players are thinking, like the NFL, guys are 24 and they still not even getting paid half of that money and putting their bodies at risk. It's intense.
Yeah, I'm expecting better things. I think the Pelicans this year will be right at the cusp of the playoffs. There's going to be a play-in tournament again, which is great. So we're going to see some of these young guys coming through again, Memphis and a couple of these teams. But great pickup. They needed a focal point of their offense, New Orleans, and they've got it.
Yeah, as I said, Pelicans, one of my teams to watch. I'm definitely going to be following them on the All Access all year because that team's going to be. It's going to be alley-oop central.
So much fun to watch that. Dwight Howard, 1 year, $2.6 million, going to be backing up Joel Embiid in Philadelphia. This was the signing I think a lot of teams were hoping to see if he'd still be on the board before one of the LA teams had a crack. But Sergio Ibaka, 2 years, $19 million for the Los Angeles Clippers. That is, for me, their best signing of the offseason. He is huge.
And Ibaka's another one of those players, aging and everything, but he's just gotten better at shooting the ball.
And he can stop you when you come to the rim, give you the Dikembe finger wag. Yeah, that's a great little pickup there. That's a beefy front court. I think he'll be starting personally. And Kawhi, Paul George, and Serge Ibaka chasing guys around.
Yeah, and then you got him and Morris, two rough riders.
Oh, yeah. Serge Ibaka could almost be the starting center. I think Zubats will get it, but he'll be that small ball 5 center, especially towards the end of the game where you need those guys kind of on the field. We had Rodney Hood, got 2 years, $21 million for the Portland Trailblazers. Good little signing there. Justin Holiday, 3 years, $18.1 million with the Pacers. Solomon Hill got a 1-year contract for Atlanta Hawks. Willie Hernan-Gomez, 1 year with the New Orleans Pelicans. Juancho, the three-point shooting small forward Hernan-Gomez, 3 years, $21 million, Minnesota. They're trying to surround that team with shooters. It's a good little pickup. Gordon Hayward. Here we go. Oh, my God. The memes that have been flying around the internet with Michael Jordan's face. This is the craziest one for me. 4 years, $120 million with the Charlotte Hornets. Serge, what are your thoughts on this one? This one is a bit baffling for me.
I just keep thinking, I forget sometimes that this is a business. And these guys are running out of options. And their fan base is going to go nuts unless you get a name.
Yep.
And I guess, what's the name left on the board? It happened to be Gordon Hayward. But how he finagled $130 million is beyond me. I'm
a little bit lost for words with this one. They could be a fringe playoff team next year, especially with the play-in tournaments. And maybe that's good to have LaMelo playing some playoff games or some important games. But at the same time, there's a couple good drafts coming up, and you don't want to be that middle of the pack team because you're going nowhere. You're not getting any good young players or the best young players. Yeah, it's a weird one for me, but I guess we'll see how it goes.
And also, you're stuck with Hayward for another 4 years when you're going to be wanting to put fresh, young pieces around LaMelo if he turns out to be as good as what we think. It's an interesting choice.
I've watched this.
I hope that if he's the number one option on the team, he can maybe feel comfortable like he did in Utah.
Yeah, if he can put 22, 5 and 5 together most nights, and he's a solid defender. He's not a sieve on defense. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe he's there just to help out the young guys. Just because I've seen these teams before where, look at Philadelphia a few years ago when they the process. They didn't have any vets there for years, and you continually lost. And it took them a few years to find their Ben Simmons and their Joel Embiid. It's just a funny one for me. Moving on, Joe Harris, 4 years, $75 million, just sprint around the court and shoot threes next to Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. That's a good payday. He's got his bag.
Great payday. That's another team that's going to be exciting to watch. They have so much talent on there. So much talent.
They've already announced the opening games of the season and Christmas, and one of the opening games of the season is Brooklyn versus Golden State. Oh, juicy.
Money.
Can't wait to watch that one.
How much do you want to beat the Lakers on opening night?
It'd be huge, but will LeBron play? That's one of the things I've been talking about. There's definitely going to be no Kristaps Porzingis.
Oh, he's going to play. He'll play
that Christmas, LeBron wants to show out on Christmas, and I'm disappointed not to have Kristaps there for the first probably month of the season. But Luke is going to run wild again. He's got a good chance at MVP this year, I think. So, ball's in his hands all year.
I think so as well, because he's going to have to carry the load for at least, what do you say, maybe a month and a half, 2 months?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's going to be Dallas. I don't know. We'll see where they are that time of season, depending on their schedule. But next up, we got Montrezl Harrell. 2 years, $19 million for the Lakers. Could have got a bag in a lot of other places. Charlotte were one of those teams looking as well. But he chose to possibly come off the bench for the Lakers, back up Anthony Davis, probably play a little bit alongside him as well. But this is a good pickup.
For the Lakers, a great pickup. I don't know if he made the right decision, though. But, he was maybe swayed by certain powers.
I don't know who you could be talking about. Definitely. Yeah. Paul Rich or Keith Rich? Maybe. Something like that.
Paul getting rich with LeBron on his side.
Yeah, 100%, always. Mo Harkless, 1 year, nice little contract with the Miami Heat, $3.6 million. You need as many vets as you can. Jeff Green, not a bad little signing for Brooklyn Nets. He'll be coming off the bench for them.
Jeff Green's a great player.
Yeah, J. Michael Green. That was a bit of a loss, I think, for the Clippers. And with Denver losing Jeremy Grant, 2 years, $15 million. Great. He's a hard-working player, man. He's got a little stroke on him, but it's a good signing.
Great signing.
Especially with the next one we're going to mention, which is Jeremy Grant, $60 million with Detroit, which we've talked about a few times already, but I don't know. Who wants to go to Detroit? Sorry, Detroit fans listening. I apologize. You guys are going through a rebuild, and you got a guy here who could pretty much play for any team and start at the 4, and he chooses to go to one of the worst teams in the Eastern Conference, I'd say, this year.
Detroit should have gone for Westbrook.
You got Blake Griffin, Derrick Rose, and Westbrook. What a combination that would have been.
Oh, I think so. My opinion is that both of those guys are going to get moved, Griffin and Rose.
I think Rose is a lot easier to move as well. Blake Griffin's contract's still a bit big, but hey, what is Charlotte doing?
But Griffin's another guy that, he's a crowd favorite. It's kind of like a guy that Gordon Hayward, I guess you could pay. Blake Griffin's contract's what? He's probably like maxed out, right? He's like 35 million or something.
But don't forget also that he also was an all-star the year before he got injured. He was an all-star for the Eastern Conference. So he's still got a bit of game, passing the ball a little bit more. But lots of questions about Detroit. Anthony Gill, 2 years with the Washington Wizards. Harry Giles, Portland take a 1-year fly with him. Marc Gasol, cheap as chips. 2 years, $5.3 million with the Lakers. That is a great signing.
Have you heard the rumors?
Is Powell coming back?
They say it might happen. I even heard LeBron talking about it today.
He'll come back for nothing to play alongside his brother back at the Lakers.
But like, come on, like it'd be like how many All-Stars or previous All-Stars can you have on one team?
I can't imagine Powell's got too much left in the legs these days either. I think he's been out for a couple of years, and the league's just gotten so quick now. Who else we got? Danilo Gallinari, 3 years, $61.5 million for a much improved Atlanta Hawks.
The Hawks, I'm telling you, another team to watch. They put together a great offseason in the trade department.
They've got a few better defenders coming off the bench, which we've talked about, and they've got more shooting. That's what you need now. De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah, someone can teach Trey how to play some D.
Yeah, otherwise Rondo is going to slap him outside the head because the Chris Dunn can defend like anything. He's a bit of a loss for Chicago, but he's one of the last names we'll talk about here. But another max contract. Here we go. This one was always coming. De'Aaron Fox, 5 years, $163 million, possibly $195 with All-Star appearances for the Sacramento Kings.
Out of all the guys who got maxed out, he got paid well. I mean, he's a star. He's great. He's worth it. But definitely more of a gamble, I'd say, than the other players.
Yeah.
In my eyes.
He's looked good. He's probably one of the only guys, I think, in that list of the max players that we've spoken about who hasn't played an all-star game yet. He has been on a pretty bad rebuilding team for Sacramento, who one of the teams that missed out on Luka Doncic drafting Marvin Bagley III, who hasn't really played much at all due to injuries. But he's got a lot of improvement left. They had a good draft getting Tyrese Halliburton, who's probably going to be looking in the future, the backcourt partner. So hopefully Sacramento improve a little bit. I don't really think so. We'll have a chat a bit later about our top three and bottom three after the free agency and trades. But who else we have here? Brian Forbes, 2 years with the Milwaukee Bucks, got themselves a nice shooter. Derek Favors, good 3 year, $27 million contract backing up Rudy Gobert again, Utah Jazz. He's been a great player for the Jazz in the past. I think he's going to help them a lot, Derek Favors, this year.
They're going to need it.
Taco Fall, 2-way contract with the Boston Celtics. He's staying there. Drew Eubanks, 3 years with the San Antonio Spurs. James Ennis, a 1-year contract with Orlando Magic. Chris Dunn, 2 years, $10 million with the Atlanta Hawks. This was a big one. I think this is a great re-signing. Goran Dragic, 2 more years for $37.4 million with the Miami Heat.
Yeah, I heard he was gonna get beat up if he didn't sign. That's what Jimmy said.
Yeah,
Jimmy said Jimmy threatened him.
I tell you what, the Miami Heat. There's obviously big free agency market next year with a lot of the big boys coming out, but they should run it back, which is what they've done. They weren't healthy last year in the finals, and whether or not they would have beat the Lakers, but I think it would have been a closer series with a couple of those games if Goran Dragic is there all the time and he can build on that partnership he's got there with Jimmy Butler. Yeah, that'll be
I think both those players are just like, they're just team first players. That's the one thing that you get with Miami. Everyone on that team, and they're kind of teaching the new breed to be playing the same way. You got Hero, all those players. So I think Miami's going to be up there. Yeah. I don't know if they're going to run it back though, but they're going to be up there.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to go as far as they did last year, but we'll see. You never know. There could be a couple of trades coming in the off-season. There's always a couple of disgruntled stars. We've got Jermaine Dotson, 2 years, $4 million with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Matthew Dellavedova, 1 year back at Cleveland Cavs. Jay Crowder, 3 years, $30 million. Good pickup for the Phoenix Suns.
Wait, what's Dellavedova getting paid?
It's only a very minimum contract. I think it's 1 or 2 million. Not much.
He got paid a few years ago. I couldn't believe that. He got well overpaid.
I believe it was by Milwaukee, and that was after he had his great run with
the
King
Cavs.
And the Cavs.
Yeah.
He got paid. Didn't play much, but he got his money.
I mean, respect for your fellow Australian, though.
Yes,
Get paid.
He was amazing in that final series that they lost. He kept LeBron standing throughout that series pretty much with his help. So Jay Crowder, $30 million with the Phoenix Suns, another good wing to add to that young core.
That's a big loss for Miami. I really liked how Jay Crowder performed in the playoffs. He's tough. He shoots threes. He's not scared. I really wish they could have kept him.
Yeah.
Important piece, Miami lost.
Good little signing. Torrey Craig is off from Denver to the Milwaukee Bucks. Here we go. Houston Rockets take a 1-year flyer on Boogie Cousins, baby. What's Boogie got left in the tank? We haven't seen him for a while, Serge.
Is he going to be ready for opening night?
I think so, because I think he was waived by the Lakers like halfway through the season last year, just before the playoffs. So he's been out for a while now. Obviously, a lot of bad injuries. I think an Achilles, a knee injury there.
I'll tell you what, Boogie's got to get on a diet. You got to get on a diet. Once you have those injuries, the less pressure you put on your joints, the better probabilities you have of making it through a season without getting another injury. I think that's what happened to him. Yeah. He wasn't fit enough when he came back. Boom, another injury.
Yeah, he's in the prime of his career.
I always liked Cousins' game.
Yeah, sorry, he's in the prime of his career still. Obviously, a lot of injuries derailed, but Houston team, God knows what's going to happen, but he doesn't have to be the starting center. He can come off the bench. When you remember back in the Sacramento days, and even for a little bit when he was in New Orleans, man, he could bully you in the post. And that's what his job needs to be. He's a great passer out of the post. He can shoot, but he's always going to be a big boy. Put him in the post and let him feed, let him work.
Yeah. No, he's a strong guy.
We have sorry, keep going.
Okay.
Now I was going to move on to Pat Connaughton. Got 3 years for $16 million with the Bucks. They're running him back. Jordan Clarkson played pretty well as a sixth man last year for the Utah Jazz. He got his money. He got 4 years and $52 million to come back and score some buckets, play some pick and roll. It's a good little signing there. Gary Clark, 2 years, $4.1 million with the Orlando Magic. Willie Cauley-Stein, 2 years, 8.2 with Dallas Mavericks. Michael Carter-Williams going back to Orlando. Javon
Where's
Carter.
Cauley-Stein going to fill in with the Mavericks?
For me, he's probably going to be the first big off the bench as a center, especially with Chris Happ's gone. So Dallas are probably going to have to mix things up a little bit. He could start as well, depending on how training camp goes. But Dwight Powell is fully back from his Achilles injury. He'll probably be starting at center. And then they'll either have Dorian Finney-Smith, James Johnson, Maxi Kleber as the 4, and then him coming off. So for the Mavs, that's kind of been a weakness the last few years, that 3 and the 4, but now they've kind of got a few big guys, a few good defenders. So Willie Cauley-Stein, apparently from what the trainers, the guys been working, been saying, his three's looking pretty wet these days. So if you can work a 3 into your arsenal and you can block and you can rim run, that's exactly what Rick Carlisle wants you to do in that flow offense. Everyone's going to touch the ball, move, cut. There's going to be a place for him in that team. A couple of small ones. Facundo Campazzo, I think I have that right. He's a Spanish guy, 2 years with the Denver Nuggets. Contavious Caldwell-Pope, he got his bag thanks to we know who. 3 years, $40 million to Lakers. Honestly, that's probably what he would have got, maybe a little bit more anywhere else. I think it's a good pickup.
Yeah, he's solid.
He doesn't need to do anything. He's not a ball handler. You're 3 and D. It's the most important position behind your ball handlers these days. You just need guys who can defend and hit an open 3.
Yeah, and be rep by the right company, and you're good to go.
Yep, 100%. Moving on, Alex Burks, 1 year, $6 million with the New York Knicks. Sterling Brown, 1 year with the Houston Rockets. Trey Burke, 3 years, $10 million for the Dallas Mavs. He was great last year in the playoffs, so he gets a little bit.
That's a good signing too.
Yep, he's going to be like
good value.
Not going to ask him to do much. He'll probably be the third guard off the bench, second guard off the bench behind Jalen Brunson. His goal is to come out and just shoot, and the guy he can do a little bit of playmaking. Indiana Pacers get a guy called Amida Brimar. Sorry, I don't know much about him. Maybe we'll learn a little bit more about him during the season. Here we go. This is another one of these good little signings for the Miami Heat. Avery Bradley, 2 years, $11.6 million. It's a great little signing, a good defender.
That's a great pickup.
He can still shoot.
I kind of felt that he was probably already severed with the Lakers after not wanting to play in the bubble. I think, even though they didn't publicly say it, but I'm sure they wanted him to be a part of he was a very important part of the Lakers during the regular season.
100%. I think with Danny Green struggling, especially in the playoffs, he might have probably taken a few of his minutes, but we know what happened in the 2020 finals in the bubble, and the Lakers won anyway, so anything we just say is just crap now. So Chris Boucher got a little bit of money, 2 years, $13.5 million with the Raptors. He had a good couple of years there as a young player. Jordan Bone got a 2-year contract with the Orlando Magic. Bol, my favorite name, apart from Bogdan Bogdanovic. 2 years, $4.2 million with the Denver Nuggets. So they obviously saw enough promise in him last year as a 60th pick, and they brought him back.
I mean, the guy's what, 7'3", and he can just drop threes? That's crazy.
Did you see his handle in the bubble last year as well? Throwing passes through people's legs, like. Man, let the guy just ease him into that rotation slowly, and you might have one of the craziest steals of all time.
That's the beauty of this generation now. Like, it's not like back in the day where you just chuck the ball to Shaq and like expect him to dunk and like have your like moves around the hoop. All these guys, they act like they're point guards.
Yeah, man, they've all learned now how to dribble. Like, look at his dad, Manute Bol. Do you think Manute Bol knew how to put it through his legs, come down the court flying? It's a different league these days. Different athletes.
Did you ever watch him shoot a 3-pointer?
Why in the back of his head?
Like a soccer tosser.
Mate, I love those were back in the days. Was it the Sonics? I've lost you for a sec. There we go, Serge. Got you back.
Yeah.
Was it back in the day? Was he at the Sonics with was it Muggsy Bogues he played with as well?
Ooh, yeah, no, he played for the Bullets with Bogues, I think.
Yes. One of the like 5'6" and 7'5" or whatever it was.
He was 5'6". Muggsy Bogues is 5'3".
Holy crap.
He would make Nate Robinson look massive.
He'd probably knock Nate Robinson out too. Sorry, I just had to get that one
sounds like
real
we
quick.
shouldn't speak ill of the dead.
Oh my goodness gracious me. Just talking about that off topic, how good was that? How good was Snoop Dogg's commentary? Lord, hallelujah. Oh my God, man. He was the highlight of that show.
Insane.
Let's keep going, Sergio. We haven't got too many more.
By the way, a little quick off topic to go with that. Snoop Dogg is starting his own fighting league.
Why not?
Apparently, it's going to be called the Fight Club.
As long as it's dog fighting, it should be good, mate. Why not? I love my MMA. Let's get some more people out there punching each other in the face, kicking each other in the head, and putting each other.
The best was when he knocks him out. And they're like, "Ooh!" All the commentators like, "I think that's concerning." And he's like, "No." He's like, "Nate's from the hood. He'll shake it off. Don't worry." And he just keeps on talking.
While he's face down, dead for 3 minutes. Damn.
That was hard to watch, man. I watched it live. It was hard to watch.
I love Nate Robinson. You're a Bulls fan, man. He probably played some of his best basketball. And
I wanted him to kill Jake Paul.
Yeah, I think everyone did. Moving on, Serge. Let's get through. We got a few more to go. Here we go. Bogdan Bogdanovic, 4 years, 72 million with the Atlanta Hawks. We keep saying the Atlanta Hawks got a good one. This is a great signing. I'm disappointed the Kings let him go.
Yeah. I mean, he's worth that money. I don't know why they wouldn't have signed him. And my question is, are the Bucks going to get fined?
Well, I've been trying to read up what happened, and Bogdanovic apparently is good friends with Giannis. So it was clearly there was some tampering going on. They were talking about wanting to play together, but then the report was that when they told Bogdan, he didn't agree to it. So this is just really confusing. I'm really not sure if it was the money was the issue. Maybe he didn't want to go to Milwaukee in the end.
I think they might have said they didn't agree with it because I think if they say they agreed to it, that's when the players can get fined as well.
Yep.
But yeah, the rule is, I might be wrong in this, but from what I understand, you're supposed to chat about it. How like Durant and Kyrie were chatting about it way beforehand, but you can't text, email,
Yeah, nothing obvious. Yeah, nothing that they can trace back
register.
to.
Yeah. Exactly.
Moving on from that, we have Bismack Biyombo staying with the Charlotte Hornets for another year. Davis Bertans. We are in the generation of the shooters getting paid. 5 years, $80 million. To be honest, apart from getting a bag, it's a good signing. Man, he shot 8.5 threes a game last year, coming off the bench most of the time, and hit about 4.2 of them. So he was just under 50% last year as a volume shooter. Wow.
Phenomenal.
And you're gonna need him there now, especially with the Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook trade. Jeez, Bugs Bunny right now. You're gonna need him. You hope Russell's not shooting a lot, so he's gonna be having to shoot a lot.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah.
I think everyone's been hoping for that since like 2010. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, his averages have been getting less, but it's just like, just don't shoot unless it's really open. Take a break.
I'm going to make a pick now. Bradley Beal's going to be wanting to be traded by March.
Oh, that Wizards team is going to be crazy. You're going to hand it over to Russell Westbrook and Danny Avdija.
Westbrook should have gone to New York. New York doesn't have anyone. They need someone who's going to dunk and be a star. And New York doesn't need to like get to the. If they get to the first round, it's great.
I honestly don't think that we've seen the end of the Russell Westbrook trade saga. Maybe this year, but the next couple of years, I don't think he'll stay at the Wizards unless they go really well or something happens. I just think he's going to spend probably the rest of his career being shipped around teams until his contract ends. And
unfortunately, it happens like that. It even happens to players that are solid, like Chris Paul.
Yeah.
And not that Russell Westbrook isn't solid, but there's nothing wrong, and there was never anything ever wrong with Chris Paul, but he's been traded around, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Chris Paul doesn't have the it's the word I'm looking for. He doesn't have the baggage that people kind of remember him by, and we'll move on quickly, Serge. We'll finish these ones before we play a little game at the end. JJ Barea, 1 year, $2.6 million, Dallas Mavericks, pretty much just there to sit at the end of the bench. He's the last piece of the final
of the championship
winning team.
Yeah.
He started the last 3 games against Miami Heat. In Dallas land, they call him the LeBron killer because somehow he played some. He's a solid defender back in the day. He's a little bit old now, but he just stood in front of LeBron. LeBron played terrible in that finals, which everyone knows.
My Latino brother from Puerto Rico.
Yeah, Jose Juan Barea. Next up, we got Malik Beasley signing with the Minnesota Timberwolves, 4 years, $60 million. He's a good shooter. He came off. It's a pretty good money. The craziest thing is, this is off topic, but he is apparently going out with, at the moment, Scotty Pippen's ex-wife. Malik Beasley, I believe, is 24, and she is 44. She is... I'll let everyone Google her as well.
She got bored of Future. See, I'm in LA, so I hear all this bullshit.
You know this stuff. You know this shit. She's been out with a few people, but it's off topic. Malik Beasley, it's a good little signing. He's there. He's going to be there starting 2 or 3. Spot up shooting. That'll be his job this year. Aaron Baines, obviously with Toronto losing Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka, he signed a 2-year, $14.3 million contract. It's a good little signing for the Toronto Raptors.
Is he going to be starting?
I think he will be starting. His 3-point shot has been, I think, shot 35% last year on 4 a game. He's a solid defender.
Baines is another player that, you know, he's been adding little pieces to his game. You should be very proud.
Yeah,
of the Aussie representation.
100%. I think he's 32 now, so he's like, this is probably his last big contract, and maybe he can play a couple more years, some meaningful minutes.
Shout out to Andrew Bogut.
Yeah,
retired.
What a great career, man. Obviously devastated by one of the worst injuries we'll ever see in basketball, with a broken arm and spiral fracture and everything it was. It was horrific to watch. But he got his championship in the end with the Golden State Warriors. He's a big part of that team. Another vet signing here, Kent Bazemore, 1 year with the Golden State Warriors. Dwayne Bacon, 2 years with the Orlando Magic. DJ Augustine, he's going to be coming off the bench from Milwaukee, and he's got 3 years, $21 million.
He was starting with Orlando last year, right?
Yeah, and maybe the year before that, He's been there for a while, I'm pretty sure, and he's a pretty solid player. But
I was going to say, that's a good pickup for Milwaukee.
Yeah, 100%. Carmelo Anthony, 1 year for the Trailblazers. Probably going to have a limited role this year, but you know what? Just come on. Your job is to shoot.
Carmelo needs to go finish his days at New York, maybe in a couple of years.
Yeah. I can't see he's got too much time left, but the last max contract that we were going to be talking about here, bam, Adebayo. 5 years, 163. Again, maybe 195 with some All-Star appearances for the Miami Heat. Out of all those guys, well deserved. Him and Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, they are Luka Doncic as well. They're the future of our league. Bam can play the 4, the 5. Defensively, he is outstanding. His offense just seems to get a little bit better every season. But his passing, man, he can pass.
Killer mentality.
He can run the offense.
He's a great passing big. Yes.
Out of the post, it makes things so much easier when your big man can pass and set up guys cutting. And that's a great piece for the Miami future. Steven Adams, we were talking about this on our last pod. 2-year extension with $35 million with the New Orleans Pelicans, part of the beefy front court there with Zion Williams. Have fun.
Yeah. You don't want to go in there if you're not armed. Those guys are strong.
100%. Jalen Adams, small contract, 2-week contract with the Milwaukee Bucks. Hassan Whiteside, he gets another contract. It's not worth much though. It's 1 year with the Sacramento Kings, bit of a flyer. Some small pieces here as well. Jared Dudley.
Yeah, that guy's been overpaid for all of his career.
I've watched quite a few games where he's played. He can rebound and he can block some shots, but he is a terrible positional defender. He gets caught out of position so many times, and when you're that big, you can grab every rebound. It's not necessarily the greatest thing if your guards sometimes aren't pushing really fast out. And some of those blocks are a little bit stat filling, but He's not getting paid
I
much.
remember Barkley talking about him, that plays great when it's like his contract year, and then he got his big money and then played horrible for 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, horrible. And he wasn't terrible last year at Portland, but you could tell the difference once Nurkic came.
Because last year was his contract year.
Yeah, of course.
He was trying to make an effort.
Just a couple small ones here to finish, Serge. We have Jared Dudley's re-signed for 1 year, $2.6 million with the Lakers. Reggie Miller has got 1 year with the LA Clippers.
Explain to me that Jared Dudley. Why would they sign Jared Dudley?
He's a locker room guy, and but it's one of those things. Like, they got a lot of locker room guys. Like, I feel like if you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis, how many more of these like locker room guys do you need? He's going to play
seriously.
maybe 100 minutes during the whole season in the playoffs, just a couple spot up minutes at the end. But maybe I always think there's a young guy out there who's willing to prove himself. But they need some vets as well. They want to round out that team. Reggie Miller again got 1 year with the Clippers, and to finish free agency, this came out today. LaMelo Ball. No, sorry. LiAngelo Ball. There's too many balls to remember the names. He signed a 1 year contract with the Pistons. I saw today that their dad, LeVar, he is happy as Larry. All his sons are now in the NBA.
Yeah, and you know what? With all the noise that this guy makes, you got to really tip your hat to him. To get 3 kids in the NBA, doesn't matter if how they got in there. That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, 100%. I think, obviously,
LiAngelo.
That's LiAngelo. LaMelo, see how he goes this year. Lonzo Ball, I think this could be a really big year for Lonzo Ball. With the Pelicans taking a step up, he's probably going to be the starting point guard, I'd say, in front of Eric Bledsoe. So it could be a big year for the Ball boys. The Ball boys, that sounds weird.
Yeah. And I think the coach that they're going to have this year is there's going to be changes.
Yeah. Have they got Gentry?
I'm sorry?
Is it Alvin Gentry?
No, they have
Dwayne Casey?
Wow.
No.
No. It's the guy that's on TV, Van Gundy.
Oh, Stan.
Stan.
There's a lot of rumors about the Van Gundy boys coming back into coaching.
Yeah, no, I think he likes TV, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, he's a good commentator. Serge, had a little game we're going to play here. Now that we've done all the trades, free agency, obviously a few more moves will happen during training camp, but top 3 to bottom 3. Who you got? Who are your top 3 teams? Let's go 3, 2, 1. Who did the best out of this trade and free agency period?
The Lakers. The Lakers have to be up there. I don't know if their pickups were as valuable as perhaps other teams, but as a job like a GM has, as a team has, to go out and fill gaps, Rob Pelinka, hats off to Rob Pelinka.
We've been giving him a lot of shit over the last couple of years, especially with all the stuff that happened with Magic Johnson. But he put together a team that won a championship, and now they just got stronger.
I mean, at the end of the day, it just seems like Magic Johnson got the big fish, and then Rob Pelinka did the rest.
Yeah. In my number 3 top teams, I had the Lakers there as well. Just Gasol's a great pickup. So is Harrell. And I think Dennis Schroeder is going to be their 3rd main scorer this year. Whether coming off the bench or not, he's going to get plenty of ball. Yeah, really good. Who's you got second on that?
I still have him in the top 3, even if they hadn't gotten Gasol.
Yeah, 100%.
To get the 2 6 man of the year or like backup.
That is insane. Who's ever done that? Who's ever got 2 of the top 3 candidates, 6 man of the year to put onto your bench when you've won a championship? Who you got at the number 2 best there, Serge?
Ooh, I was kind of torn between these, but I really like Atlanta.
Yeah.
I really like what Atlanta did this year. They just quietly put together. They got great pieces.
I've got them actually as my number 1 team in free agency, just for the fact that I'm pretty sure them and Cleveland were the 2 worst teams in the East last year. And they've kept all their young guys, and they've just added a bunch of vets. Solomon Hill, Chris Dunn, Bogdan Bogdanovic, obviously Capella got there last year but didn't play, Rajon Rondo. They've got essentially 2 teams now. A lot of young guys, a lot of good vets to learn from as well. And number 2 for me, this is my dark horse this year, Serge. I'm a little bit of a betting man. I think just before the season starts, I have to put a cheeky $50. There's something about the Portland Trailblazers this year. I just think if they can keep fit, we know how good McCollum and Lillard are. They've got some depth on the wings now with Rodney Hood, Derek Jones Jr., Robert Covington, Melo's 4th, 5th option there, and Nurkic, a full season of Nurkic. Woo! Give me the Portland Trailblazers. They're going to be in the top 3 seeds this year.
Nurkic and Collins, yeah. No, I mean, Portland's a team that I really enjoyed watching. And the thing that kind of resonates with me with Portland is that I think of kind of Lillard and I think of Jordan in his younger years, where there was that buildup, that year after year, that hunger. There wasn't a frustration that led towards the Bulls failing or Jordan playing worse. It was that hunger kept growing. And I feel that Lillard is one of those players that you see him getting better and better. And the relationship he has with McCollum is great. Those guys are never a Durant, Westbrook, like there's never any issues. They just haven't had the team or the pieces around them to really go deep in the playoffs. And I think I agree with you. Like this year they could go far.
Knock on wood, stay fit. Anyone else up there for you that had a great offseason with the trades? A free agency?
The Thunder always they get pieces. I mean, the amount of trades those guys are putting together is just, or like assets, like future assets, is just insane.
I could be wrong, but I'm somewhere in the late 20s of first-round picks they have until 2028 or 29. And again, all you need to do is hit on one of those, just one of those, and then you can start cashing in those trade assets, and you can start bringing in other players, disgruntled stars. I also had the Dallas Mavericks, not just because I'm a fan. They got some good young people in the draft. Josh Green out of Australia, good 3-and-D wing. Tyrell Terry, good shooter. They got Sadiq Bey in the trade as well with Josh Richardson, James Johnson. Just stocked up on the positions they needed to. And, it's got Luka Doncic the help he needs.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, once Porzingis comes back, they're good to go.
Bottom 3, Serge. And I have a feeling that where you're going to mention the team that you love so dearly.
I'm going to start with them, actually. The Bulls. I don't know what's going on. The only thing that could save it for the fans, and this isn't going to save the team, but the thing that could save it for the fans is that if we find a way to get Derrick Rose back home. And I don't think that's going to change much. It might change a few more wins for a record for the season, but it's not overall. We're not really headed. We're not putting the pieces we need to be putting around Levine. And the way the NBA is at the moment, you know what happens when that happens with superstars. They start to push their way out.
It seems like they don't trust. It seems like they don't trust Levine. For me, they're like they want to hand him the reins, go, this is your team, but they're not doing enough to get him help. I'm just looking through my sheet here. They re-signed Denzel Valentine, and I think they got Garrett Temple, who for me probably should have just gone to a contender for the same amount of money. They did nothing this offseason. I have no idea. And they got Patrick Patterson.
What's the trade deadline?
I'm not 100% sure this year. It's going to be a bit funky because of, obviously, the season started late. It'll probably be sometime in Jan.
No, but right now, before the season starts?
I think it's just going to continue. I have a feeling. I'll check this for our next pod. I'll write that down. But it's an interesting. They didn't even take a chance. They were weird with their draft pick. Patrick Williams.
Yeah.
The draft. A lot of upside as defensive guy, but I honestly thought they were the team for Denny Avdia. They needed a wing that could just give them something different because they've got some good guards coming through. Kobe White, Zach LaVine. Laurie Markin hasn't really taken off like I think you were hoping.
I think he's a great player. The adjustment from coming to Europe to here, it takes a while. Kobe White, I love that guy.
Yeah.
He's a baller.
He's got some swag about him too, man. He doesn't mind taking the shot or the big moment as well. And yeah, I'm looking forward to him. My other loser for me, Detroit Pistons, I just don't understand. Unless they're really They know that Griffin and Rose are going to be traded. That'll open a bit of space up in the front court to probably play Jeremy Grant or and Mason Plumlee. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't think Blake Griffin's going to get you a lot of pieces back. So unless you're hoping for a lot of good young pieces, it didn't make a lot of sense to me. They didn't get better. They're probably going to be close to the bottom unless Blake Griffin and Derrick Rose turn back the clock, essentially.
Yeah. I agree with you. I was going to say Detroit as well. You either do or you don't. You either move young, you rebuild. But again, it's not over yet. We got to give the GMs a lot of credit. The front offices are always calculating. It's statistics, math. What can we get better? Who can we trade for? So I think we're yet to see. I think there's going to be some trades.
Yeah.
I think Griffin's going to get moved.
Yeah, I think so too. To be honest, they're the only teams that I thought did terribly this offseason. And I'm kind of nitpicking a little bit of Detroit, but the Bulls, unfortunately, this made no sense to me. I think a lot of teams got I can't think of the word right now. They got a little bit better. They added a few pieces. Miami, Golden State, Toronto lost some guys. Even Boston.
The Bulls literally did nothing.
Nothing. They
didn't get better.
They stood pat at being a non-playoff team. They didn't draft anyone to give them huge upside the next season. So maybe they're one of those teams that are hoping, because the 2021 draft class apparently is stacked. So they're hoping, let's be shit for one more season. Let's hopefully pick up a game changer, a franchise.
Well, I think if that happens, Levine's gone. But I mean, that's probably what they're planning on: trading him, getting some trade value for him, and then going with another season of trusting the process.
Yeah. Oh, I hate that word, process, in basketball especially.
The last thing I'm going to say about the Bulls, which I'm going to go at them a little bit more. When you have a big market like that, you don't get to, there's no excuses. Players want to play for Chicago.
Yeah. And Chicago,
especially now that Garpax are gone, there's no problem with them. They have a new, I guess maybe that's the thing. They want to see how the new management is going to perform, and then maybe bigger names will be able to get on board.
They've essentially done the opposite to Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks just kept their young guys and added all these veterans to mix in, and the Bulls did nothing. So, yeah, I think they're going to be looking for a trade during the middle of the season to see what they can get. Serge, that's all the free agents. We've done the drafts. We've done free agency. Pretty much as we're talking, media day is happening, and the teams start training tomorrow. And then it's the 3rd of December today, on the 23rd, I believe, or 22nd, the season kicks off, Serge. We are there.
Wait, did you forget that guy who plays for the Lakers?
Oh, talking about LeBron James?
Yeah.
Just signed an $82 million extension for the next 2 years. Congratulations. I think you guys will start to realize this on this pod, but Serge and I aren't the biggest LeBron fans, but at the same time,
yeah, let it be noted that this is a number 8.
Yeah.
It is not a number 23.
Yeah, we're not the biggest LeBron fans, but at the same time, a lot of respect to LeBron. Well, he's had an unbelievable career, 4-time champion now. These last couple of years, for a guy his age to do what he's doing is just bonkers. It'll never happen again.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, we all know why he's sticking around, or already signing 2 more years to his contract. He's waiting for Bronny.
Yeah, he is. He wants to play with his
son. And then he's going to be a free agent when Bronny comes in, and he's going to go play for the minimum, for the veteran minimum, to play with his son.
So it's going to be a Bronny-Bron backcourt somewhere. Maybe Chicago. That'll be a long time to hold on for Chicago fans. So hopefully some good stuff happens before then. I don't want to put you into purgatory for the next 3-4 years. Guys, that's the end of the podcast. Thanks for listening. That's our first 2 done. The next few podcasts, guys, we're going to be going 5 or 6 teams at a time. We're going to run through all the players on the squads, possible starting lineups, where we think they're going to run in the season, potential trades. We'll have a chat about every team and just see how we go. Thanks, guys, for listening. whether you're listening on or watching on YouTube, like us, subscribe, listen to us on your platforms. Join us on Facebook at Scotty and Sergio. I'll Talking Ball with Scotty and Sergio, pardon me. And Instagram should be up in the next couple of days, guys. Thank you very much for listening. Sergio! Stay well, guys. Stay safe.
Later. Stay safe, guys.
Peace.